Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. For today's episode, I want to talk about Jimmy Butler and his return in the last game after missing some early games this regular season. Jimmy Butler came back against the Philadelphia 76ers, his former team, and made a statement. And so my question is, moving forward, can Jimmy Butler keep playing like this throughout the entire regular season? And could Miami consider trading him this midseason if he can't continue to be consistent, put in this effort, and actually play without missing a ton of games and without load managing in games? So first, let's talk about Jimmy Butler's game against the Sixers. So he dropped a season high 30 points against the Sixers and led the Miami Heat to a 106-89 victory. And again, Jimmy was being Jimmy. He played with his trademark grit and he played with intensity and he was active. Like, he was aggressive from the beginning, which he's never aggressive this season in the first quarter. It's always been Tyler Hero who's been elevated this game or this season with his game. And Tyler has been the one who's been carrying the Miami Heat offensively in the first quarter. And Jimmy Butler has not been shooting like more than a few field goals per first quarters. And that's been super frustrating to see, as we need Jimmy Butler to be our anchor and help us offensively, because this Miami Heat team we know struggles offensively in terms of offensive rating and points per game. And so Jimmy set the tone early. He started shooting. He had 6 points in the first few minutes alone. So that was a good sign. I think Jimmy was happy to be on the floor after missing a week and a half of basketball. So his energy, his leadership was contagious. And it was clear that this Miami Heat team feeds off of his energy and his presence. Again, we go as far as Jimmy Butler takes us. That's the truth. It doesn't matter how good Tyler Hero is. It doesn't matter if Bam Adebayo wakes up finally and bounces back and returns to his normal self, which I think he will eventually because he's been in the slump. But Jimmy's our heart and soul of this team, essentially. And so, again, Jimmy's return didn't just impact the box score. It changed the entire dynamic of this team. His ability to draw defenses, especially in the mid-range and in the paint, opens up opportunities for guys who are playing really well, like Tyler Hero, and for Bam Adebayo, again, who needs to wake up. So when he is active and engaged, more teams focus on Jimmy, and that's going to open up lanes for his teammates. He's also playing better defense in these types of games. Like, he's a two-way active player when he's actually engaged. So we can't forget about his defensive efforts. And even when he's not putting up points, his effort in terms of playmaking and that defensive ability elevates everybody on that floor. And you could see like a shift in morale when Jimmy Butler is actually trying. So let's talk about the next big question. So can Jimmy Butler keep this up and be consistent in the regular season? He doesn't do this all the time because he doesn't really care for the regular season. He typically waits and saves himself for the playoffs, and that math formula has been working to a certain degree. Hasn't helped us win a championship, but it's helped us become very successful in the playoffs in this Jimmy Butler build. And so can Jimmy Butler actually be consistent at also age 35? That's a big issue moving forward. Is, Father Time is undefeated. So there is that issue. And Jimmy, again, like I said, he has that extra gear in the playoffs. So it seems like he doesn't like put in the effort in some games and load manages in games and takes off 20 plus games every season, like obviously due to injury, but some days are rest days, which are kind of ridiculous. But that being said, while he's capable of having these explosive performances, I don't know if it's realistic to expect him to have these types of outbursts consistently. I could see him scoring 30 against the Sixers, and then this Sunday playing against the Mavericks, I could see Jimmy getting 20, which is totally fine. Like, can you at least average 20 to 22? I think that's what we need from him. We don't need 30. We don't need 28. We don't need 25. We need you to get like 21 points per game. His averages have gone down before the injury. He was averaging like 16 points per game. So we need you to get like a few more buckets, be more aggressive, get to the free throw line, put that to 21. And I think that's going to be huge for the Miami Heat, and also focus on the defensive end. Like, if you're not going to put up 25, 26 points per game, which we don't expect, like I mentioned, then put in a little more effort on the defensive end. Be more engaged, be more active early on. So a lot of Heat fans have been talking about whether or not the Miami Heat should trade Jimmy Butler because you could see that he has lost a step to a certain degree. He's not the exact same Jimmy Butler. He's had 3 or 4 good games that he's played in this season, and he's had some pretty bad games. And especially the first game of the season against the Magic, where he had his like worst game in a Miami Heat uniform, where he had like 3 points, which was ridiculous. But anyway, it sounds like the Miami Heat nation is torn whether or not they should trade Jimmy Butler. Um, Come January, February before the trade deadline, based on the performance of the Miami Heat, like how they are doing. Like, what does that playoff picture look like? Because right now, Jimmy Butler has a player option next year, and it sounds like he's opting out and becoming a free agent. So if we don't trade Jimmy Butler this off season, or if we don't trade Jimmy Butler before the trade deadline, we could lose him for nothing and he could walk away. And so a lot of Heat fans want the Miami Heat to trade Jimmy Butler. I'm not in that camp. I don't want to trade Jimmy. I want the Miami Heat to win a championship with Jimmy. I love Jimmy. He's maybe my second now or third favorite Heat player after maybe D Wade and maybe Zoe. I don't know. He's number 2 or 3. Um, but I love Jimmy Butler. He's been amazing for this Miami Heat culture and for this team. And so, but people are saying we could trade Jimmy Butler to retool around Bam and now Tyler Hero, who's been in trade rumors for the last 5 seasons in a row. And, you know, he's finally playing really well and having a breakout all-star type season so far in 13 games. And people are saying, hey, just get some draft capital for Jimmy Butler, get some young assets because Jimmy's still a good player and he could command value. And there's been rumors and speculation that teams like the Warriors and the Rockets and the Nets are interested in Jimmy Butler. And so I could see them giving at least 2 first-round picks and 2 players for Jimmy to make the salary match. So who knows what the Miami Heat front office is going to do. Again, it depends on the situation with the Miami Heat. Right now, they're 6th or 5th in the East at 6-7, like which is insane because the East has been pretty horrible so far. The West has been way better. 11 teams are above 500 in the West, and only 4 in the East. I think it's just the top 4 seeds: Cavs, Boston, Magic, and maybe the Knicks. I think, and the rest of the teams in the East have below 500 records. So I don't know. What do you think, Heat Nation? Can Jimmy Butler sustain this level of play through the regular season? Because if he does and averages 22 points per game, I think that's going to be helpful for the Miami Heat. But the other things that need to come into play is Terry Rozier needs to start playing better. Bam Adebayo needs to wake the hell up. But let's not even worry about Terry Rozier. We see Bam, Jimmy, and Tyler to have good games consistently together because there's never been a game this season where all 3 have been good. It's usually just one, and that's Tyler Hero. So we need Jimmy and Bam to step up for sure. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think the Miami Heat should trade Jimmy Butler if we're doing really bad by the trade deadline? And also, do you think Jimmy Butler can play really good in the regular season and sustain his efforts that he had in the Sixers game throughout the rest of the year?